Hey you guys, it's Melissa Westlake and welcome back to Wine with Mel. Today's guest is an extraordinary person, but before we get to him, let's get to the wine. Today we have a 2020 Rosé from Napa Valley, California, Navigator. With notes of strawberry, orange, and hibiscus, this beautiful rosé will be sure to leave you feeling refreshed on a hot summer day paired with an assortment of frozen fruits. I am beyond honored and beyond excited to introduce you all to Reto Eberle. Hello, sir.
Hello, Melissa. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Very good.
Thank you so much for being a part of the show.
Thank you.
Our audience, I would love for them to know you are founder and CEO and entrepreneur. And I would love for you to tell them what exactly of what?
Of what?
What? What do you do? You know?
A lot of many things.
Yeah.
So in the 90s now, I give away my age, of course, but it's okay. So I started D-Tank, and D-Tank is a company that came out of the whole .com boom. People got tired of being in cubicles every day, and so they wanted something really innovative, something fun to work in. You know, things like collaboration and all the things that we are great. You know, open plan offices didn't exist. So that's how we started D-Tank. And that was really a very entrepreneurial model to really be a design-driven manufacturing company for office environments, office furniture. And so I, started this, and I handed it over to a good buddy of mine called David. And so David is the president of the company, but I'm still involved in it as well.
Yes.
In the meantime, I picked up some commercial real estate because of my doing with D-Tank. I was into conversion of old buildings into creative office spaces. And somehow this whole idea of creating old buildings in something new, what is my passion of design, I stumbled into Night View Studios, and that really happened because I picked up this building in North Hollywood. There was an old shoe factory. Drove by one night, I said for sale, and somehow it just was this feeling that that's the next place.
It's always the feeling, guys. It's you just see something and you're like, this is, you just know.
That's right. You don't know what it is, but somehow it needs to be something that you want to do.
Absolutely.
So I purchased a place. I called it the Sleeping Beauty because somehow I knew it was something sleepy. So again, it's just, taking, down to the bone, kind of just that the rubbish was completely, gutted the whole thing. And then, somehow, the whole thing about the studio always fascinated me, being in Hollywood, because I remember when I came with 21 to LA, everybody asked me, so what are you doing here? And I'm like, well, I don't know, maybe furniture design. And they're like, no, you only come to Hollywood or to LA if you're in the entertainment industry. So I'm like, oh, I'm not. So I was like, never too late, so even in my 50s, maybe,
never too late. We're going to get him an agent. We're going to, get him into some acting classes.
Right. So it's never too late. But, so I know I'm not an actor or writer, but I can have a studio.
Okay. So he's like, I'm more behind the scenes.
That's
guys.
Right. So again, we took our skill, my great team and I, we turned this old building into a beautiful film and photo studio, and so it's great, and being also around the creative world. So we really, we created almost like I say, creative created something for creatives, So because
that's beautiful.
And so it was really cool, and I enjoy it. So now I'm in different businesses, but of course the Night View Studio is the one that really pops, and it's the new venture for me, and it's a lot of fun.
That's so exciting. Just so our audience knows, Night View Studios is actually where we film our Wine with Mel episodes.
Right. Yeah,
so thank you for creating an amazing space for us to film in. I would love to know, so you mentioned that you came to LA at 21 and you came from Switzerland, correct? Yes. How was that for you? Like, was there like a culture shock? Were you just ready to leave? Was the process like easy, or were you like, whatever,
So growing up in Switzerland, of course, Switzerland is a beautiful country. Some people been there probably for the audience, or they saw pictures. beautiful green, very organized, you know, like the watches are from Switzerland and chocolates. And so we all, you know, very precise. And but also this position has, you know, an amazing quality in terms of, you know, education, the way you work, and, you know, you get your things together, but not so much entrepreneurial. Now it changed, of course, since I left Switzerland, but still, you know, it didn't spark the entrepreneurial spirit. And that really was a reason for me to come here. And I was in New York, and it was interesting. I had a friend in New York, and so I kind of, you know, asked people about, you know, United States and stuff, and they're like, oh, you need to go to New York. And I said, why?
I mean, New York is just the place
That's
to
right.
be, you know?
And I asked the reason. I said, why do you think New York? I said, because it's very European.
It
So I
is
was
actually,
like,
yeah.
I said, which one is the least European place? But they said, I'll just go to LA. And I'm like, okay, LA it is, because I'm from Europe. I don't need another Europe.
Yeah.
You know,
Yes.
I want to do something different. And so I landed here, and of course, you know, I needed to brush on my English. So I went to UCLA to get my English.
Wow.
And so I was really a place that LA was always for me a place that you can do whatever you want to do.
Yes.
It was never something, maybe, you know, in the 80s, late 80s, 90s, it was maybe less so sophisticated as it is now. But I actually liked the less sophistication, because it allowed you to really explore yourself and do whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
What in New York I always felt like it's more like you need to be in a certain mold. Even San Francisco, what is in the same state, it's very much, you know, you're in the tech business, or you know, in the high tech. LA is like, you find everybody here, and everybody does something. If it's creative, if it's this, and of course Hollywood has a lot to do with it. You know, some people don't like it because it's a more selfish maybe place.
I can see that.
But you know what? That's okay. You know, it's not like, or maybe superficial, but it's not like I, you know, have everybody. I tell my life story, you know, that I meet. But it's something I think for me as an entrepreneur, and even now, whatever I want to do, I find it here. You know, if I decide tomorrow to start something new, I know somewhere in LA, in an alley, or in a factory or something, they make something for me. So it's a great place. And you know, the West has always a certain spirit, you know, go west for luck or something, or the saying. And I think that's where it got inspired. So for me, yes, you know, it was new, but it was exciting. Of course, you know, 21, you come to LA by yourself, you know, you live here, you explore everything. And of course, you know, things happen, you know, good or bad, but you know, that's the spirit of, you always see the good in the bad.
Yes.
And you learn from it, and you just move on. You know, it doesn't push you down, it doesn't, you know, you learn, and sometimes it takes 3 times to learn, but you learn eventually.
You learn something
you know.
new each time.
That's right.
I don't know about you guys, but I'm actually really happy now that I made the move to LA. At first, I was a little iffy about it, but after speaking to this man, I now I'm in the right place at the right time, and just.
That's right. So again, I think that's really where it brought me a lot of knowledge. I learned a lot. The city did really well for me. I'm thankful for the city. It was always good to me. And again, you know, it's what you make out of it.
Yes. I would love to talk about a little bit about the D-Tank and also Night View. So Night View actually opened up right as the pandemic was happening, and D-Tank, you mentioned, went through some sort of recession. And how were those instances for you? Like, did you ever feel like, oh my gosh, this is it, like they're not gonna survive?
So it was interesting. So when I came to like at 21, I met a gentleman in Beverly Hills. He was Swiss, a young chef, very successful. And so he told me one thing. He said, make sure that you have as many credit cards as possible.
Oh
and
my God.
I asked him, I said, why? He said, one day it will be a lifesaver for you. And so it didn't make sense to me, but you know, I'm young. I was like, okay. So I acquired a lot of credit cards.
How many did you get, if you don't mind me asking?
I think right now I have about 15 different credit cards.
You know, that is so amazing. I would love to play a quick game with you called Would You Rather.
Oh.
I feel like you've given us a lot of free information that people should be paying for. Mi dinero, por favor. So, before you drop more gems, let's play something fun.
Okay. That's good. Hopefully I answer right.
Yeah. Would you rather be the adult that you are right now, or would you rather go back in time to when you were younger and free with no responsibilities?
So I think I like to be the adult now,
Yeah.
but I would like to go back to another time, maybe to do other things a little better than I did. So, but I liked because I learned more. And I'm still learning because I'm still not there yet.
Yeah.
I should be, so.
Would you rather be incredibly skilled at an incredibly boring job, or be incredibly unskilled at an incredibly interesting job?
Definitely an interesting job because hey, anything, if it seems like a job, like a hobby that you really want to do, if you wake up in the morning and you love what you do, you can learn anything. You can do everything. And you can always up in your skills. Like I was not in the movie business or in the studio business, but I love it. Now I know much more than 2 years ago or 3 years ago. So you can always learn things, So
you could always learn. Just think. Last question: would you rather be respected or feared as CEO?
Definitely respected. And I think that's where I could learn a little bit because. As you grow up as a CEO, you don't have the skills. I think, in the old days when I look back, I'm like, you know what, I could have done things much better.
Yes.
I should have done much better. And I'm still learning as a CEO. I think a CEO is something that, I think there's leaders.
Yes.
But it doesn't mean if you're a leader, you're also a good CEO. Because, unfortunately, entrepreneurial leaders are sometimes not so good CEOs because they are always in the fighting mode, in conquering mode, like a revolutionary. A revolutionary is always in the revolution. Even there's no more revolution, you're still. And I think sometimes entrepreneurial leaders, and that's where you see when companies get to a certain size, the smart way is that sometimes the leader steps away and the CEO comes in to take it to the next level. Somebody that is maybe more diplomatic, better with people, because sometimes entrepreneurs are not, and I see it because my thoughts are always ahead.
Yeah.
So sometimes, issues that are today's issues, you're already over it. You're like. And then the things happens that you say, well, what takes you so long? Or why is this so difficult? Because for you it's no brainer. You're already to the next project.
Yeah.
But then the people on the day to day, they're still working on it. They're still struggling maybe with certain things. And that's why I'm saying, leaders and CEOs, they're sometimes two different things. And so I think everybody, and like there's born CEOs, they are great, and some leaders, they are born, and some other ones, including myself, that I could be like, a better CEO sometimes. And but you need to be respected, and you only get respect when you respect other people.
Y'all. I really do hope that y'all took some notes, because that was very important for you to know. On that note, Reto, I want to thank you so much
for
coming on Wine with Mel. I want to thank you for this amazing space. Night View, y'all. Check out their website. We're going to put all the info in our credits. And also, we film here every week. You guys love this studio. I know you do, because you be putting it up in my comments. And I just want to remind you that you like the space and you should check it out.
Yes. Anytime. You're welcome to come.
Cheers, Reto. Thank you so much for being a part of Wine with Mel.
Incredible. Thank you.